A message never delivered. Hello, my dear students. Welcome back to my English Stories channel. I hope you all are doing great and feeling excited to learn English with me today. Today, I have something very special for you. Do you want to write better in English? I asked myself this question one rainy afternoon. I was sitting in a small room with an old notebook in my hand. The rain was soft, and the room was very quiet. My English was not strong. I knew only simple words. My sentences were short and weak. But I wanted to write something big. I wanted to tell my story. That day, nothing big happened. I was alone and thinking about my life. I often said, "My English is not good," so I never tried to write. I waited for the perfect time, but that day I understood something new. There is no perfect time to start. We must begin with small steps. Even when we are not ready, we can still try. The notebook in my hand was very old and brown. The pages were empty, like my mind. I did not know what to write. I had no big idea. I had no beautiful words. But I wanted to try. I wanted to write something small. One line was enough for that moment. I took a breath and started to write. I looked outside the window and remembered my walk. The sky was gray and the wind was cold. I saw a boy feeding birds in the park. The birds were small and brown. They flew around his feet and jumped in the grass. The boy smiled and threw small pieces of bread. I wrote that memory in my notebook. That one line made me feel strong. So I wrote another line, then another. I stopped thinking about grammar. I stopped thinking about mistakes. I just wrote what I saw, what I felt, and what I remembered. I started with simple words, but those simple words became something more. They became a part of me. The next day, I picked up the notebook again. I sat near the window and opened to the last page. My lines from yesterday were still there. They were not perfect, but they were mine. I read them slowly, one by one. I smiled a little because I had started. That was the hardest part. I was no longer afraid of the page. I decided to write again that morning. I looked around the room. The chair was old, the table was small, and the walls were white. Nothing special was there, but I wrote it all down. I wrote about the sounds I heard. A bird was singing outside. A dog barked far away. Even small things felt big when I wrote them. I remembered something from school. My teacher once said, "Good writing is not big words. Good writing is clear and honest." I did not understand it back then. But now, I started to feel it. My words were small, but they were true. I was not trying to sound smart. I was just being myself on the page, and that was enough. I began to write about my past. I wrote about my first day in the city. I was lost and scared. The buildings were tall. The streets were full of people. I had a map, but I did not understand it. I walked for hours looking for the right bus. It was a bad day. But now I could write about it without fear. Writing helped me see my life in a new way. It helped me understand my feelings. I didn't need perfect grammar. I didn't need big ideas. I just needed a quiet place and a pen. With every line, my heart felt lighter. With every word, I felt more free. Writing became my friend, and I was not alone anymore. Each morning, I sat with my notebook. The air was cold and the light came slowly. I made tea and opened to a new page. My hands were always slow at first, but soon they began to move. I did not always have something big to say. Still, I wrote, one word at a time, one thought at a time. I wrote about the small things I noticed. A cat walking on the wall, a man selling bread on the street, a girl laughing with her friend. These things were simple, but they were real. They were part of my day, and when I wrote about them, I felt calm. I felt like I was learning to see again. Some days were harder than others, of course. I sat and stared at the page for a long time. My mind felt empty, and my hands did not move. But I stayed there. I waited with hope and patience. Then one small thought would come, and I would follow it. I learned that waiting is part of writing, too. It teaches you something gentle. I started writing letters I never sent. Letters to people from my past, letters to my younger self. I told them my true thoughts, not perfect ones. I said the things I never had the courage to say before. These letters helped me understand myself better. And with each word, I became more honest and strong inside. Slowly, my notebook filled with pages. Each one had pieces of me inside. My words were still simple, but they were full of life. I read them again and again. I saw my fears, my hopes, and my small joys. Writing helped me know myself. It helped me find my voice, and that voice was quiet, but it was mine. After some weeks, writing became part of my life. I didn't wait for the right mood or the right words. I wrote in the morning, at night, and sometimes in the afternoon too. The pages filled with my memories and thoughts. My notebook looked old now, but it felt like a part of me. It was no longer empty. It was full of my heart and my voice. I wrote about people I met in the past, my old friend who moved to another city, my kind neighbor who once gave me food, a teacher who smiled when I was afraid. I wrote about their words, their faces, and their kindness. These people were part of my story. I didn't want to forget them, so I kept them alive with my words. There was one page that stayed empty for days. I didn't know what to write there. Each time I saw it, I felt quiet. That page was waiting for something special. One morning, I finally knew what to do. I wrote a letter to my father. He passed away many years ago. I had never written to him before. That letter opened a door in my heart. I told him everything I never said. I told him I missed him. I told him I was scared when he left. I told him I was trying to be strong. As I wrote, my hand shook, but I didn't stop. The words were simple, but they were true. I felt like he could hear me, even if it was only in my heart. That page became the most important one. After that day, I looked at writing differently. It was not only practice. It was not only about English. It was something deeper. It was about connection. It was about healing. Writing helped me speak to others, but also to myself. It helped me be brave. And in that quiet bravery, I started to grow. As more days passed, I carried my notebook everywhere. I wrote on the bus, in the park, and even at work during breaks. I no longer waited for silence to write. I wrote through noise, through tiredness, and through busy days. Writing became part of my breath. It helped me stay calm when life felt heavy. It gave me a place to rest my thoughts. I read my old pages and saw my own growth. At first, my lines were small and unsure, but now they were stronger, not because the words were big, but because they were honest. I didn't try to hide anymore. I wrote about mistakes I made, about the times I was unkind, and about the times I was brave. My notebook told the truth. One evening, I read a story I'd written weeks before. It was about a cold winter day and a stranger who gave me a scarf. I had forgotten that moment until I saw it on the page. It made me smile. I saw how small memories could bring back big feelings. Writing made my life feel full. It helped me see the good even in hard times. Sometimes I shared my writing with others. A friend read one of my stories and said, "I felt that too." That simple sentence meant everything to me. It showed me that writing connects people. Even simple words can carry deep meaning. I didn't need to be perfect. I only needed to be true. That was enough to touch someone's heart. Writing also helped me listen better. I started to hear people more clearly. I heard their stories, their fears, and their dreams. I saw that everyone has something to say. Everyone carries memories and moments, and sometimes they just need someone to listen. I realized that writing helped me become that person, someone who listens and cares. Now, I write almost every day without waiting for the perfect moment. I write when I am happy, and I write when I feel tired or unsure. I write when the world is loud, and I write when it is quiet. My notebook is always near me. It has become my safe place, a space where I can be myself. The page listens without asking anything. It gives me peace and comfort. One day, I opened a letter I never finished. It was to someone I cared for deeply in the past. I had written the first lines long ago, but I stopped before the end. Now I read it with different eyes. I saw the feeling, the hope, and the fear inside those words. I didn't need to send the letter. Just reading and finishing it helped me understand myself more. I started writing down small dreams, too, not big plans, just little hopes. I wrote about learning a new song. I wrote about walking by the river. I wrote about helping a friend. These dreams were simple, but they felt true. They made me smile. They gave me a reason to write more. Each line was a small light on dark days. Sometimes I imagined writing to people I didn't know, a letter to a stranger on a train, a note to someone feeling alone. I never sent those letters, but they helped me grow. They helped me think outside myself. They helped me feel close to the world. I learned that writing is not only about my life, it is about connection and kindness. I remember one afternoon when I wrote without stopping for hours. The sky changed from blue to orange. The words flowed like water. I did not stop to think too much. I did not worry about mistakes. I just wrote what I felt. When I finished, I looked at the pages. They were full, not just with words, but with me. I also began to write stories from my childhood. I wrote about my first school bag. I wrote about falling off a bike. I wrote about a rainy day I spent under a blanket with my mother. These small moments felt far away, but writing brought them back. It felt like I was visiting an old friend, a friend I had forgotten. Reading my old pages, I saw something beautiful. I saw my growth. I saw my truth. My English was still simple, but my heart was there in every word. That was enough. I didn't need big grammar or long words. I only needed to be real. That is what made the writing good. That is what made it mine. So if you are learning to write, do not wait. Do not worry if your writing is slow or simple. Do not stop if it feels hard. Keep going. Use small words with big feeling. Write what is true for you, and one day you will look back and see a long road of pages, a road that shows your voice, your heart, and your journey. I hope this session was helpful. Please like and subscribe to our channel for more such interesting stories. Take care, everyone.